Carol-Ann Riddell, and welcome to Book It with CA. We have got a terrific show in store for you today. We sat down with award-winning actor Tovah Feldshuh, who has done it all, from Broadway to television and the big screen. Now, she's also an author, and her memoir had me both laughing and crying. And after the interview, a special treat, some behind-the-curtain moments with Tovah. Tovah, thank you so much for this time today and for having us here. It's a real thrill for me to meet you.
It's wonderful to have you here.
So you are an award-winning actor. You've been on Broadway, you've been on television, you've been in movies, you've done so much to talk about there, but now you are also an author. And I really enjoyed your book. So let's start there. Your memoir, Lilyville, it's largely the story of your relationship with your mom.
Correct.
Why did you choose to write about that part of your life?
Well, the whole evolution of how I became a memoir writer, if you will, a wonderful agent, Albert Lee, was on the subway listening to an interview I had given Entertainment Weekly. He listened to the interview, he called my managers in Hollywood, and he said, "Does Tovah Feldshuh have a literary agent?" They said no, and he said, "I think she has a writer's voice." And he showed up right in this living room and said, "What do you want to write about?" I said, "Well, I'd love to write a series about my mother, Lily, because she was hilarious and brilliant, and she lived till over 103, but I don't know how to write a pilot." He said, "I'm not interested in a pilot. I'm a literary agent. I need a book." And rather than write a celebrity memoir, since I'm a Broadway baby and a New Yorker through and through, and not confusing myself with some internationally acclaimed actor, let's say, who made their entire living in the movies, I said, what can I write about that hits the river of universal experience? I said, instead of writing about my life and my career, I can write about my life as seen through the eyes of my mother and her life as seen through my eyes. And there's a 40-year gap in our ages, so we didn't have a generation gap, we had a generation chasm. And what saved our relationship and made it exquisite is that she lived long enough for us to solve everything. And I have such gratitude for both my parents. And I thought, well, this is an angle that could apply to any child of any parent. And all of us who are walking the earth at the moment, we all had parents.
Yep.
So this was my path in, hoping that you, Carol-Ann, could relate to it.
And I did.
Good.
And I did.
Good.
And I think that my mother would. It seems to me that it's fair to say, based on the book, that your relationship with your mom was very different as a child compared to what it was like as an adult.
Yes.
It seems that you felt for a lot of years as a young person that her love was conditional to some degree.
I would say so. But more importantly, as I grew older, I realized that that conditionality was built on fear. Fear that I wouldn't fit in. Fear that I wouldn't make a good match, let's say. Mm-hmm. You know, when I married a Harvard lawyer, and my father is a Harvard lawyer, my mother opened up plenty. She said, "Oh my God, this child is safe. She's chosen the right husband." And on my wedding day, at the Plaza, I probably mentioned this in the book, and my career was spinning out of control. I had just done, I was about to do the Holocaust miniseries. I'd just done Yentl. I'd gotten 5 awards on Broadway. And she said, "Tovah, you can do whatever you want now." And I thought she was going to say movies. She said, "You're marrying a Harvard lawyer." And that is how she estimated my value in her vision. It's so wonderful to talk to you, because as I talk to you, I have to say I'm re-experiencing some of the pain of it, as if I were there. I remember bringing her dandelions from the wildflowers across. It was an empty lot across from us in Scarsdale and Penn Boulevard. And I picked all these dandelions and I gave it to my mother, and she said, "Thank you, but did you know these are weeds?"
You know, despite, I know, what felt like a critical attitude towards you at times, she taught you some really wonderful things as a girl. I loved the story in the book about Sam Houston.
I was 4.5 years old. I was waiting for the yellow bus on Penn Boulevard. We lived in Quaker Ridge, so everything was in Penn, Swarthmore, Haverford, you know, after William Penn and the Quakers. And when the bus pulled up, my mother said, "Terry Sue," which is my birth name, "you sit next to Sam Houston on the bus." And I said, okay. I was 4.5 years old. Whatever my mommy told me to do, I did. So I got on the bus, and she pointed to Sam Houston, and I went to the second to last seat toward the back of the bus. And there was Sam Houston, and I sat with him every day from September to June into kindergarten as we went to the Griffin Avenue School. And Sam Houston was the one black boy in our town. So I sat with Sam Houston on the bus, and I was playing Golda's Balcony.
And when was that?
Oh my God, 2005.
Okay, so this is 2005 now.
That's right. We had gone from Broadway to Los Angeles and then to San Francisco. And I was at the Curran Theater, and I got a note backstage saying, "Dearest Terry Sue, I don't know if you remember me, but my name is Sam Houston.
It chokes me up, this story.
And you sat with me every day on the bus when we would go to school in kindergarten. And you were my friend. May I come backstage to see you?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And it was a very heartfelt and a teary reunion. My father died on May the 11th, 1996. And my mother was 85. She had turned 85 April 18th, the month before. And he was short of 6 weeks of 86, and he always promised me 86. It's the last thing I said to him. I said, "Daddy, according to the Chinese calendar, you're already 86. Anyway, first of all, she walked into the hospital room. I think this is very important. And my father was lying there. He had passed away. His body was still warm. And she leaned down in her St. John's knit with the double strand of pearls, and she, on top of the sheet, she kissed his genitals, and she said, "Thank you for my life. Thank you for my children." My brother and I were so astounded. We were just gobsmacked about what my mother was capable of doing. And I think that started the whole ball rolling. Her courage to express her thoughts verbally really began almost at that moment. And she just flourished. I think that she wanted to give the spotlight to Sidney. You know, your fate was held in the match you made. So my mother would come forth with hysterical insights, both wise and funny. That story of when my daughter Amanda was getting off the plane from La Coruña, Spain, where we had sent her to study Spanish, and my mother and I went to pick her up. Well, that's the one thing I did. When my father passed away, I included my mother in everything. Mm-hmm. So I would call her with her week's calendar.
How great.
And her driver, Milton, would drive her down. "Milton, go faster. He gets paid by the hour. That's why he only goes 15 miles an hour." So Milton would drive her down, and I would take her. So I took her to the airport, and Amanda got off the plane, and Amanda's my beautiful daughter. She has size C bosoms. My mother has size C bosoms. I have size A acorns. Mm-hmm. My mother looks at me. She looks at Amanda. She looks at herself. She goes, "Well, I guess it skips a generation." Welcome to Lilyville.
And there are many what you call Lilyisms in the book.
That's right.
These like great statements or her take on a specific event or something.
Unbelievable. I mean, really wild stuff. I took her. This is all, of course, after Dad's death. I took her, you know, she comes to every show I ever did, and she said, "I'm not coming to see you in the Virginia monologues." I can't say the word. But 4 women in front of black music stands talking about their tchotchburgers. Forget it. So if you're pretty and there's music and there's movement, give me a call, because she was starting to go deaf. So so I gave her a call, and I took her to Pippin, where I got to play Grandma Berta, and I sang No Time at All while doing a full-out trapeze act. And after act, and the number brings down the house. You put an old bird hanging upside down on a trapeze, singing a hit song. It engenders hope in everyone. Meanwhile, my brother David, who is a doctor and a professor, Dr. Dave, I call him, said, "Make sure you show Mother footage on your iPod," or whatever that thing is. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that Mommy doesn't have cardiac arrest seeing you for the first time hanging upside down 30 feet in the air without a belt and without any mat. And in all events, I went to her after the show and I said, Mommy, how did I do?" Because the number stopped the show. You know, I got an ovation in the middle of the show, and she said, "Tova, that you should have to earn a living like this, and on a trapeze yet." And that was my mother.
Tova, what would you say is the best piece of advice your mom ever gave you? The one go-to?
You want to know how to have a successful marriage? I'll show you how to have a successful marriage. Just shut one eye. So the other piece of advice, which really was great, she says, if you're in love with a boy, don't walk, run to his house. And if his parents and the home does not feel like a warm bath, it's a red flag. And that was the best piece of advice she ever gave me.
Well, it certainly worked out for you, given that the other main character in your life in the book is your husband.
I'm grateful that we're well, the family is well, that I'm married just about 45 years. On March 20th, I will be.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's my mother, too. Marry like a Jew, divorce like a Catholic. Once there are children, you stay on the field of play. Don't leave a marriage. And I can't tell you, there's nothing more romantic than the third act of a marriage, because you've brought your children up, they're doing all right, and you don't see the end, but the end is lurking. So you number your days, for your days are numbered. And when you hug each other at night, there is a feeling that maybe this won't go on forever. So you're careful. And there's tremendous gratitude in a relationship. I have great gratitude for Andrew Harris Levy.
A few questions about your career, Tova. At what point did you know that the actor's life was the life for you?
When I was on the wait list at Harvard Law. I wanted to be near my father. I worked in his law library to earn money as a high school student. I made the waiting list, and nobody lifted a finger. And at the same time, my brother David, who's a big influence on me, said, why don't you apply for the McKnight Fellowship in Acting? I won one 5 years ago. He was at the Guthrie by this time as associate artistic director at 26 years old. He was a wunderkind, and then he headed the theater at Cornell, and he's a medical doctor. Like
Doctor.
Like Dr. Yeah, very good. I won the McKnight Fellowship in Acting, and I rode the horse in the direction it was, I wouldn't say galloping or even cantering, but certainly walking or trotting.
And you changed your name from Terry Sue to Tova.
Yes,
How
I
did that
did.
affect or impact your career at all?
By changing my name, thanks to Michael Fairchild, who's still alive and well and a first-class photographer, who said to me when we were in love at 17 and 18 years old, or maybe it was 18 and 19 years old, what kind of a name is Terry Sue for you? What else were you called? I said I was called Tova in Sunday school, embarrassed to say Hebrew school.
Yes.
I'm no longer embarrassed to say that. And he said, Tova, now that's a name.
Just a few more questions about some roles. Dr. Ruth, the famous sex therapist, but there's so much more to her than perhaps people know.
Much more. First of all, I want to publicly apologize that Dr. Ruth Westheimer is not in my book, because I wasn't offered that part when the book was published. And in all events, Dr. Ruth Westheimer is so unbelievably optimistic that even the ends of her sentences go up. Even the ends go up. So she came from nothing. She was on a Kindertransport. She was ripped away from her family at 10 years old. She was supposed to go to Switzerland, where her life was saved, and live there for 6 months and get back to Frankfurt, Germany. She was there for 6 years, and for the first 3 years, she was never touched, never once. She then fell in love with a boy named Walter. He was a younger man. I was 13, he was 12, and they must have hugged and kissed. And she felt things she never felt before. And that kind of connection, romantic and even sexual, reminded her of at least the warm feelings, without going over weird boundaries, warm feelings she had with her intimate others, her father, her mother, and her grandmother. Yeah. They all lived in the same apartment. So she wanted to make sure, eventually she was led to be a sex therapist, because she felt that everybody was entitled to those wonderful feelings. She felt that her job and her healing for the world was to sexually educate people. She expected to educate them within New York City. She didn't expect to educate them throughout the United States and then internationally, which is what has exactly happened.
Yes. Tova, I have to mention that I'm a big Walking Dead fan, and so I just loved you in that show. You were tough as nails. But what struck me was that when you were originally asked to audition for the show, you didn't even know it, right?
Not only did I not know it, as I said to Scott Gimple, I'm close enough to death that I don't have to watch I don't have to watch it walking. I don't have to watch it walking.
But you loved that show, right?
I loved that show. These artists were serious. As Ruth Gordon said to me, you think it's hard to get there? Try to stay up there. And that's what Walking Dead did. Walking Dead was already the #1 cable show on the planet Earth.
Hugely popular.
And they shot every episode as if it were a feature. They were dedicated to staying in the tunnel of their characters. And this Andy Lincoln was such a brilliant artistic head of the community. So kind, so gifted, so serious, so focused and serious. I loved him. And I remember I was in London looking at nightclubs. I was going to sing in one of them. And he came down from his farm in Wiltshire a couple of hours to be with me, just to be with me.
That's how nice.
He was very nice. He called the night I arrived in Atlanta from Cartagena and said, "What do you need?" And actually he talked like this, "What do you need, Carl?" So I didn't even know that he had a British accent until I got to London. He literally talked.
Because he stayed in his character?
He stayed inside that speech pattern, so it was accurate, excellent, effortless. That's the key. It's just like when I play Dr. O, the whole point is not to push. The whole point is to stay effortless.
And My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I just have to mention, because, oh my gosh, the song, Where's the Bathroom? 5 pages, was it?
Yeah, it was 5 pages. Again, this was an offer without audition. I was very happy. Wonderful Rachel Bloom. My third, I think, episode was the Christmas special, episode 8, season 1. And per your request, I actually have it in the book.
Yes, I know.
You know, what happens is, talk about disappointed expectations. I'm just about to play a mother with that. Her daughter, who went to Yale and then Harvard Law School and was on her path to become a partner in a big law firm in New York, instead she falls in love with an unemployed Asian skateboarder and moves to West Covina,
Right.
California. She goes, "West Covina." You know, they have that opening thing.
Yes.
So the mother comes in to check on her baby, and you expect the mother to say, "Hello, sweetheart, how are you?" Instead, she says, "Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? I need to use your bathroom. Tell me that you have a bathroom in this hovel you call home."
I don't know which was bumpier, the plane ride or the taxi. All these freeways are a nightmare. Where's my purse? I need my comb.
I'd love to hear about the process of writing. What was that like for you? Does being an actor inform the way that you write?
Very much. I completed the manuscript in December of 2019, and I gave it to my wonderful editor, and she said, "This is not a book." I said, "What?" She said, "This is a bunch of pearls on a coffee table, not strung together. Do we want to just do a series of short stories about you and your mother's life in some kind of..." So I just said, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" Basically, I had to redo the manuscript. And I have a wonderful friend who directs me in my one-woman nightclub acts named Jeff Harner. And Jeff Harner came to me and said, "Tove, what do you know best?" I said, "I guess I know the theater best." And he said, "Write it as a theater piece."
Yes.
And that was it. It was like an éclat, as they say in French. It was like a lightning bolt. It was like satori, as they say in Japanese. My whole brain blasted open, and I wrote it. Instead of having chapters, I have scenes. Instead of having a forward, I have an overture. Instead of having an afterword, I have exit music. And I wrote the book in 3 acts. Don't worry, there were 2 intermissions. You can go to the bathroom. You can take a snack in between. and the book just came out of me, and it had sequence and an inevitability that I may not have ever found without that one sentence from Jeff Harner. So I thank you, my friend.
I so enjoyed the book, Tova, and I just have a final question for you about it. What do you think your mom would have said about this book?
Wow. She would have said, "Tova," she probably would have said, "Tova, where'd you get all these stories? You're just making this up?" She'd probably say that. And then eventually say, well, thank you. At least I'm immortalized. And really, when I think of the underlying psychological reasons, why did I write Lilyville? It was to make my mother ubiquitous, to make my mother create the mother throughout the universe.
Thank you so much for all this time. I so enjoyed meeting you. What a thrill for me. I so enjoyed the book as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the research you did. Thank you for your intelligent questions. And it's a pleasure to share with you my life and the life of my mother. This is my father's wedding day with his older sister Sylvia, who went to NYU Law. This, of course, is my beloved daughter Amanda and her beautiful husband Joel.
Oh.
My beloved daughter-in-law Jamie, and my son, our son Brandon. And this is Andrew and me with Mom and Dad at the Plaza on March the 20th, 1977, when we got married. I still have the dress, and I still wear it And as important,
That's great. You still wear it.
I do. I still wear
What
it.
occasions do you pull it out for?
I wore it for my 50th birthday. And
I
will
love
wear,
it.
I will wear it for my 45th wedding anniversary.
I love that, Tova.
This, of course, was a monumental feature in my life,
Yes.
which was Golda's Balcony,
Yes, I know.
which became the longest running one-woman play in the history of Broadway.
Can't imagine doing a one-woman play and what the pressure of that must have been like.
Well, and you know why it became the longest running one-woman play? Because we never gave up on it, just like I don't give up on my marriage. We stayed on the field of play, and we did it show by show, and this wonderful Charles Turner, my wonderful PSM production stage manager, came to me and said, if we get past October 4th, we will set a record for the longest running one-woman play, and
Wow.
we didn't close till January 5th.
Amazing.
And that record is still held. My dream, you know what my dream is? My dream is to open off-Broadway in 3 one-woman shows 8 times a week. Golda's Balcony by William Gibson, Becoming Dr. Ruth by Mark St. Germain, by Dr. Ruth Westheimer, of course, Golda's Balcony, play the Prime Minister. And I would love to commission a one-woman play about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court Justice. When I played her in the brilliant play by Jonathan Shapiro, which I hope will come in, called Sisters-in-Law, I was with the Justice because she's very, very generous. And I said to her, Madam Justice, I was in her chambers, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want to be thought of? Because I'm going to be your theatrical voice out in the universe. And she said, I want them to know I'm funny. Thought I was going to lose it.
Now it's time for our regular segment with award-winning columnist and author Linda Stacey. As always, she's got plenty to say about the book she's reading. Here is Uncensored.
Before I talk about the wildly readable I Alone Can Fix It, Donald Trump's catastrophic final year by Carol Lennick and Philip Rucker of the Washington Post, I really need to tell you something. The Donald and I were pals for years, or at least he was a great source. I don't know if he actually can have pals. But how close were we? I was the only reporter allowed into the room when Tiffany was born. I was the only reporter allowed to follow him around on the finale of The Apprentice on the first season, when it was undoubtedly the most popular show on television. But we stopped speaking. Why? He called me one day and he said I was not being nice to him in print. I said to him, yeah, I'm not, because you're acting loony and you're acting like a racist. Trust me, it didn't end well. Anyway, even after he got the boot from voters, he gave the reporters of this particular book, who weren't fans, I mean, they wrote a book previously that was really critical of him, he gave them a long interview at Mar-a-Lago. But born without the gene for shame, the guy still told them if George Washington and Abe Lincoln were running now, they would have had a hard time beating him. Hello, anybody home? You just lost the election. Not that he believed it. In this meticulously researched book, Trump takes down just about everyone, including Supreme Court Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Why? For not changing the results of the election. This book is all about Trump's handling of COVID-19, how he knew the reality of what was happening and denied it. It was about his lack of empathy for the hundreds of thousands who were dying on his watch. And except for how those numbers would affect his polls, that's all he cared about. He didn't care about who was dying. The stunts, the lies, the attempts at overturning democracy. If Trump gave bigots a voice, this book gives truth the final say. The next book I beg you to read is Harlem Shuffle by the man who won two, count them, 2 Pulitzers, Colson Whitehead. Look, there's writing and then there's writing. This guy's a writer's writer, but not of the pretentious literary kind. This is a crime novel that's both funny and tragic. And it's a family tale as well, about family, loyalty, and bad decisions where family is concerned, which we all understand. The protagonist is a guy called Ray Carney. He's an African-American furniture store owner in the 1950s with crooked relatives on his side and pretentious in-laws on his wife's side. They don't approve of him, not only because of his family, but because they consider his skin too dark. It's also about the heist of a luxury hotel in Harlem. But that's not the real heart of the book. The real heart of the book is the people who populate it. It's the cast of characters, the dialogue, the scenes, and asides that are so unforgettable, and they're sometimes really just side-splitting. As Ray Carney, the ever furniture salesman, is being held up at gunpoint by a gangster called Miami Joe in the furniture store, Carney has to resist the urge to try to sell the gunman the best couch in the store with its air foam cushion. The narrator of the book speaks in a voice that's not like it was written, but more like it was transcribed. It's half sentences, random asides, gorgeous gems. As a writer, I could live in Colton's sentences. As a reader, I sure did. Still uncensored, I'm Linda Stacy.
That wraps up another chapter of Book It with CA. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to Royal 35 Steakhouse for having us. A quick reminder to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We would love to hear from you, especially if you disagree with Linda. We'll both be back next time. I'm Carol Ann Riddell. See you then.